Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Women. On this show, you will learn how to create wealth through real estate the blissful way. That means with very little stress and very little time. We talk about strategies, mindset, heart set, money smarts, resources, and so much more to ensure you're able to create the success you most deeply desire. Now, here's your host, Monica Sawyer.
Hello there, ladies. Welcome to another episode of Blissful Investor. So good to have you here today. Today, I'm really inspired to chat with you about some really personal things that are going on with me. My mom, about 2 weeks ago, took a fall. She's 87. My dad's 94. I'm really blessed to still have them with me. And many of you know that I moved to Sacramento so that I could be close to them in the later years of their life, and also to help be a caretaker. So that's become kind of like my primary thing, is I'm really here for them. Well, anyways, 2 weeks ago, Mom took a fall and broke one of her feet. She broke 3 toes. We were supposed to go on a family cruise. All of the family was getting together. We were going to go on a cruise. We're actually supposed to be there right now. But because she was unstable, we decided to cancel the cruise. And then 2 days later, she had a stroke. So I guess it wasn't 2 weeks ago. It's probably closer to 10 days. Anyway, so she has a stroke. So first of all, wow, thank you, God, for letting us be on land, like giving us preemptive warning so we're not on a cruise when this happens. But it's been such an interesting experience for me because you ladies know that part of what has happened for me is over the last few years, I've had some really difficult times in my business. And I realized that my skill set around choosing bliss, although it's really helped me to remain stable through my regular business stuff and through my regular life, when I hit a really, really difficult point in my life around my business, I found that I was not as skilled as I had hoped to be. I didn't have tools to help to handle the extraordinary circumstances, So I had the tools that still allowed me to make really good business decisions. I stayed creative. I solved my problems. I didn't give up. I didn't file for bankruptcy. I had all of those skills, but then I had a real crash and burn. And so over the last year and a half after that experience, my journey has been to really up-level my bliss skill set so that when we're now not just have a blissful life, but even in extraordinary circumstances, to be able to maintain that bliss for myself in a way that allows me to still be present, still be loving, still be resourceful, creative, and also still be able to be myself. So not have external circumstances destroy my own inner peace. So now here we are in another extraordinary circumstance. I love my mom passionately. Can you use that word for your mom? But you know what I mean. But I'm madly in love with my parents. And so to have this happening has been really, really hard. And what has been really amazing is to watch myself in this space. I've been grounded. I've been loving. I haven't lost my temper even once. I've been able to make all sorts of good decisions. I've been able to negotiate with the nurses and the care team. And Mom just got transferred to rehab, and I've been able to renegotiate all the food there, which is a thing, so it's been like, and her physical therapy and all of those things. So I am so delighted at my up level of my skill set. And I wanted to share that with you ladies, not as a brag, but more to help you to understand why I believe this is so important. Right? Why is it? So why do I believe that this bliss piece is so important? It's because when we're in these situations that life throws at us, we get to show up as our best selves if we have that skills, at least some level of that skill set. And as we up-level that skill set, we can continue to be our very best selves and make the best decisions in our personal life, but also in our businesses. So for instance, my mom's in the hospital. She had just had a stroke, and we had a water leak in one of my properties. And instead of water leaks are really scary to me. I have a thing about those. I mean, it's a big deal, but I have like a weird, extraordinary response to those. And in this particular case, I stayed completely grounded. I called my contractor, let him know what was going on with me, that I didn't have any bandwidth. He handled the whole thing the same day. We had another situation with a garage door yesterday. Similar thing. I was in the hospital. I couldn't handle it. Called a contractor. He handled it. And, the point is simply this. I was able to figure out exactly who to call, how to have a conversation with him so that I didn't sound like I was freaked out, allowed him to stay grounded so he could solve my problem, and everything just got handled. So that this blissful mindset is such an important piece of running a successful, thriving business, but also running a successful, thriving life through it all, through the good and the bad, right? So I just wanted to share that with you because I'm extremely happy with my own results. That doesn't mean I'm not going to keep growing, but it's really exciting. The other piece that's really, really interesting about this last year and a half is as I've been building my blissful mindset, one of the things that I really realized is that one of the skills that I had lost touch with was my ability to tune into my intuition. So most of my life for the last 30 years as a real estate investor, I have been really in tune with my intuition. I have an intuitive sense about which houses are going to be a fit for me. I have an intuitive sense about what kind of new tenant I want to have and then attracting that tenant. When you meet tenants, they're all really nice, right? I do executive homes. They're all really nice, but you have to have an intuitive sense about who's going to work and who's not and why. And when it's a good time to give up and ask them to leave, and when it's a good time to work through and negotiate when issues are coming up, right? So my intuition has guided so much of my business and my life, and I feel like I lost track of that about 2 years ago. And life became so much harder. I think that's why I had so much difficulty with the issues that I was going through. So a couple of years ago, I reconnected with a friend of mine who it teaches all about how to live your life in intuition. She models it. She, her life is so fluid and she's remarkably successful, like more successful than almost any other woman I know. I respect her to the nth degree, and she runs her entire business and life based on her intuition. And so because it's become such a big piece of my life, and I could just tell you stories about what's happened over the last year and a half. Actually, can I tell you one story before I introduce Laura? Laura, give me just a second. I want to tell one really exciting story. I recently finished a screenplay for Choose Bliss. I finished it a year and a half ago. I got an intuitive sense to hire somebody to write that screenplay. It was just going to take me too long to go through that learning curve. So I hired somebody, and then that person that I hired had an agent. It was a partnership. The agent has been marketing Choose Bliss, and we haven't gotten a single bite. So about 3 weeks ago, I was like, you know what? This is important. I really, really want this out. And so I tuned in to my intuition, and I got an intuition to listen to Abraham Hicks. So I listened literally one night. I listened from 10 at night to 3 in the morning. 2 days later, I got a call from a producer. 2 days. Like nobody, like how many screenplays get out there, and nobody knows where this is going to go. Ladies, if you know anybody that's interested in a screenplay about living a blissful life, please let me know. I could use all the help I can get. But wow, how things change so quickly when you follow your intuition, you're living in your bliss, and you take inspired action. And so much of this guidance from me to live my life that way has been inspired, taught, and modeled by Laura. So I want to bring Laura onto the show. Hello, Laura. How are you?
Oh my gosh. Well, what an amazing introduction. Thank you so much. It is always a pleasure to connect with you, Monica. Yes, I feel like you really model this as well, just in your life. And I feel like so much of intuition is also setting your intention for what kind of life do you want to live. So making that intention of, I want a blissful life, I want a joyful life. That's all so important.
Yeah, thank you. And I feel like you really get that. There's so many people out there that, we can choose also who we work with, ladies. And I am so grateful that I attract people like Laura who get that bliss is a big deal. It's not just a big deal to me. It's a big deal in life. It's a big deal for our communities, for our businesses, for our children. It's a big deal. And so it's really fun to work with people that get that. So thank you.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot in our society that is consciously and unconsciously focused on suffering and actually raising suffering up as a goal.
Yeah, like it's valued,
Yeah,
right?
it is like, godliness through suffering. And I just completely disagree with that in premise. But there's so much we often have to unconsciously work through in order to allow ourselves to be in bliss. And sometimes we'll hit a sort of bliss cap, right? Where it's like, how much can I have? How much amazingness can I allow myself to have? And we sometimes have to keep kind of working on that sort of upper cap for ourselves to say, like, yes, I can have so much.
I can take more.
There's literally no end to it, right?
Yes.
And especially I think it's harder for women because women tend to be the caregivers, the ones that are focused on other people's wants and needs. And it's
And wanting
really
to be a martyr. Again, being a
right.
martyr is really valued, right? Our society.
Absolutely. And whether it's conscious desire or just like we've just modeled this from, especially, family patterns, for
Mm-hmm.
example. Yeah. So I love that you talk about this. And I think it's really important. And I truly believe that a rising tide lifts all ships. So the more that we have, the more that we receive, including joy, the more that we can pass it on, like our cup spilled over, and then like other people are able to receive that. So yeah, I love this conversation. And also, I think it's tied in with we can kind of quote work in whatever we want, right? You have
Yes.
created a life that supports a lifestyle that you want through real estate and found a way to make it blissful. But we can decide to do whatever we want. Now you're doing screenwriting, which is amazing. That I really feel the world is your oyster. So we get to decide. We get to decide what kind of life we want to lead, including what we do as well as our bliss. So thank you for bringing this up as a topic.
Yeah, thank you. So before we get too deep in here, I don't have a bio for you. Did you want to tell my audience a little bit about your amazing self?
Sure. Yeah. So I definitely do a lot of different things. I would say I'm most known as a psychic medium. So I have written several books on the psychic and spiritual realm. I'm an angel channeler. I can see past lives. I could see energy in a person's body. So I'm constantly using my intuition and my psychic abilities to navigate. And that is also one of the things that I help people do is better learn and understand how to access their own intuition, because everyone has intuition. Everyone has some form of psychic ability, whether they recognize that or not. So I'm well known as a psychic. I'm also an actress, a model, a writer, a host. I'm a podcaster. I've been podcasting like you for a long time. I've been podcasting for about 14 years. And I do lots of different things just based on what I feel intuitively to do, as well as what brings me joy. So I do stand up. Last night I went and did some stand up comedy, which is great. So, it's interesting because depending on where you met me, you might have a different impression of me because I do so many things. And I also feel to say we are such diverse people within ourselves. Like we have so much to offer. We have so many facets, just like a jewel. A jewel does not have just one facet, right? Like we are
Mhm.
like these beautiful, sparkly jewels. And just to honor that we can be multifaceted, we don't have to be and do just one thing.
Yeah. I think as women, we already kind of get that we are diamonds, right? I always say this too. It's so funny that you brought that up. We're diamonds. There's all these different facets. But when we think about that, we think about I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm a friend. So that we think of those as our facets. But what's true also is that we have a lot of those different things inside of us, lots of different interests. And I think in our world, we're taught that you have to be one thing and do that really, really, really well. And yes, like Laura's been a podcaster for 14 years and I've been a podcaster for 6. We're good at that because we've done it for a long time. But it doesn't mean that we don't have the capacity to have other interests and pursue those things. And so some balance of, and that's part of bliss for me is variance, like having some different various things that I can focus on. That's not true for everybody. But I think it's really important that we recognize it's okay to have different interests, hobbies, in addition to all of those other things, all of those other roles that we play. Right. So thank you so much for that, for mentioning the whole jewel thing, because I think you and I both, we have a lot of facets that we like to explore externally, right? Not just the roles, but the things that we really enjoy doing out there in the world.
Absolutely. It's funny. I didn't know that you used that analogy before, but yes, I feel like that just came in from spirit
Yeah.
as a beautiful symbol that, everyone can access. And I also want to pass on, there's always these incredible opportunities, like whatever you seek is seeking you. And so whatever the combination of the things that you do, there are opportunities and connections that can be made. So for example, years ago, I was a guest on Will Ferrell's Ron Burgundy podcast. And I got invited on as a psychic, but one of the reasons they chose me is because I had been a podcaster for a long time. I had done improv. So I did improv for years, like improv comedy. I was experienced in podcasting, in interviews, in improvise, and comedy. So like this was an opportunity that fit my skill set perfectly.
Hmm.
Right. And so whatever it is that are all the things that you're interested in, there's going to be opportunities like that for you that just come in and it's like, you're the perfect fit for this, even if it seems like a weird combination of things.
Yeah, I've got one coming that's really exciting that I want to share. I have the opportunity on May 8th, my birthday, to dance with John Travolta.
Oh my gosh, that is so
I know.
fun.
And the reason that I got that opportunity is because I talk about finance. I have a business partner that came through my podcast where she talks about protecting wealth. She's running a mastermind, invited me over. It's going to be on my birthday. And I was like, I don't do business on my birthday. Sorry. She's like, well, would you like to dance with John? And I was like, okay, I'll do that. But the interesting thing is actually she gets to dance with him, but she's a cripple. So she's in a walker and she's bent over in half. I happen to be a choreographer. So where I play into this is I am going to help John choreograph something for her and him. And she may get on stage or not. If she doesn't get on stage, I will do it. But because of my choreography background, because of my dance background, now I feel like I have confidence to step in and help her and also support her on stage and still be a beautiful addition to this dance with John. Right. So, but again, like a skill set that I've had since I was 3 that was just for fun. Literally, like this was the way that I stay stable and grounded is to dance. And now here I am in this amazing situation that I would never be in. I wouldn't have the confidence to be in, let's be real, if I didn't feel like I already had those skills that brought me so much joy. Right?
I love that. And again, it's a win-win. You're
Mhm.
supporting your friend and helping her. You get to meet John Travolta. Yeah, I love that. It's so funny about John Travolta because have you ever been to the Sphere
No, I
in Las
haven't.
Vegas? Oh my gosh! Well, when you come, we'll have to go sometime. So
Yeah.
I'm just bringing this up for something specific about John Travolta. I believe Follow the Whimsy, and I went to the Sphere with actually one of my VIP clients, and uh, they have these talking android robots there, and you can ask them
Mhm.
questions. And when we were doing a series of questions, like everyone was asking about something special on their birthday, and people were having things brought up like something to do with, science or astronauts or whatever. And it came up to mine. And it was that the number one song on my birthday was Saturday Night Fever.
We are so similar in so many ways, Laura.
So perfect. I didn't even know that. And I was like, of course it was. Of course it was.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually having images in my mind of those two dancing and me doing veil dancing as a backdrop behind them
That's
to
so
just
beautiful.
add real beauty to the environment. Let's see how it goes. We'll see what they want, but there's just so many opportunities, and I think building your many facets, also following your intuition, and also really standing for your bliss. I don't work on my birthday. And if I wasn't standing for my bliss, she probably, not that she doesn't love me, but this may not have come up. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I would have just been
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not coming. As much
Yeah.
as I love you, I'm not going to do this on my birthday, right? So it's, it's standing for your bliss, standing for what is important to you, living your bliss, right? Building the skill sets that feel yummy to you, and then going out there and letting your intuition direct your life, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the most challenging times to follow your intuition is when your intuition tells you to do something that logically doesn't sound good.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Yeah.
certainly had those times. So When I was early on in my business, but first of all, my background is in poli-sci. My master's is in poli-sci. I used to work in government and politics, like total 180 from what I'm doing right now. And
Hmm.
so I was wanting to step out of that world and sort of planning. And I got invited to a community meeting. And my logical mind was like, ew, I do not want
Hmm.
to go to a community meeting. Like, no, thank you. But the intuitive pull was so strong to go. I just couldn't ignore it. And I went, and it ended up that one of the members of their board was someone I really needed to connect with. And she
Hmm.
became my long-term client and actually connected me with other people who also became my long-term clients. So it was a wonderful thing about the relationship that was going to unfold from the meeting. It wasn't about the community meeting, like whatever was being discussed at the meeting. And it was like
Right.
intuitively, it was absolutely leading me in a great direction. So that's one thing, it's great to set our boundaries and our intentions, but like you said, but also allow room for sometimes there's something magical that's going to come in, and being too rigid will actually stop the magic.
That's true. That's true. If I had just been a deadpan no, even though it's kind of against my values to do that, I was open. But the other piece about that is understanding intuitively that things are coming. In other words, I understood that this is a person that loves me and has my best interest in mind, right?
Yeah,
And so even though I needed to set a boundary, there was this connection. There was also an intuitive sense of, but something really good could happen if we continue the conversation, right? So,
absolutely. Yeah, and that rigidity piece has really come up for whatever reason, especially the last couple of months, about how flexibility, and that's different than lack of boundaries. I think that can be a
right.
little confusing. And
Mhm.
also to trust, if you have set your intentions and parameters to your angels and spirit guides or the universe, and you let them know this is what I want to experience, and then something comes in that you're like, is this outside my boundary? Yeah, be open and get more information, like you did. You got more information, then you were able to say, like, okay, yes, actually, I would like to do that.
I would love to do that. Yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. Yeah. So, Laura, could you talk a little bit about how us ladies and the ladies that are listening can get back in touch with that intuition? Maybe even like some exercises we could do to make it into a game to really reconnect with. As women, our intuition is so alive. Men have to work a little harder to get there. And it's one of those things, it's one of our big resources, our one big advantage, not one, but one of our many big advantages in the world and specifically in real estate, right? So, could you help us to reconnect with that side of us?
Sure. I mean, I think one of the first fronts there to look at is our bodies and our emotions. Like, what are we feeling in our bodies? What do we feel emotionally in response to certain things? So, for example, I would love, if you don't mind, Monica, to talk about the event we just went to.
I would love that. Yes, let's do
Okay.
it.
Yeah. So Monica reached out to me, and I love, Monica and all the things she does. She reached out to me and invited me to this luncheon at the Beverly Hills Hilton, which was in honor of Paris Hilton and many other women. And Monica was actually one of the women that was featured in the LA magazine, LA Women Edition. So she invited me. When you reached out to me, Monica, I was in Egypt, and I hadn't even figured out when I was coming back from overseas. And so logically, it would have made sense to be like, I don't know, I'm not sure, my plans yet or whatever. But the feeling was like, yes, say yes, even if I didn't understand the why. Right. And so I think that's the biggest part, is stepping out of the logic and into the feeling. And business in particular is highly analytical, at least in terms of what we're taught. But I think the route to success, and most of the really successful people in business are highly intuitive. And that is a part of why they're so successful. So leaning into the feeling, trying to put the logic aside as much as we can, and then paying attention to what we feel in our bodies. So I didn't really know too much about the event. Actually, the details I gave, I didn't really know too much about it when you invited me. But when you invited me, it felt exciting, right? So
Mhm.
that was what I leaned into, was the feeling. And then, everything worked out really beautifully. And in fact, another friend and client of mine, who's also a really inspiring woman, ended up coming. And long story short, we ended up meeting Paris Hilton and had a short conversation. And she's really lovely. And it was also just a really wonderful room of women, like very
It's
inspiring as a
amazing.
whole. very supportive, exactly the kind of room that I want to be in, which is loving, supportive, inspiring, successful women that
Mm-hmm.
want to, bring each other up. In fact, the woman who did the intro, that's literally what she said is you either light someone up or you put their light out. And that was a room of people that were lighting each other up. So
Yeah.
wonderful things that happened. It was absolutely the right place to be in. What got me to say yes was that feeling like, yes, it felt fun and exciting. So
Yeah.
just leaning into that, what we feel in our body, that's literally our first place that our intuition will show up for us. And alternatively, something can sound really good, but what if it sounds really good and you feel dread or you feel heavy? That's also telling you some information on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit more about those feelings so we can connect to those. Because I think you and I have practiced this for so long. I can't even really articulate what that is. Could you help my ladies to understand a little more?
Yeah, I think, first of all, paying attention to our bodies from a health perspective. So, my podcast is Healing Powers Podcast, and it's a mind, body, spirit podcast. So, I think this has real importance, not just for intuition, but also our own health and paying attention to what our body is telling us. So, the first thing is just really paying attention and starting a daily practice of what is our body telling us.
Hmm.
And there's literally the intuitive piece, and then there's also listening to your body's physical signs. Have you heard of the book, What Every Body is Saying?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's fascinating. So it's a book written by an author. I cannot recall his name, but he is a man that is hired by law enforcement agencies when they're having a tough case. And what
Mm.
he does is he go in and he analyzes specific body language, facial expressions. And the book was very helpful for me to even decode my own responses to things sometimes. Sometimes we're so programmed intellectually that we're kind of cut off from ourselves and we have to sort of relearn, even as children, oh, go talk to the stranger, even if our body is like, no, go sit on Santa's lap and you see all these pictures of kids crying. And I'm like, actually, if a kid doesn't want to sit on the lap, I think you should let them honor
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. That's a strange man. I don't know that person. But anyway, so we have to reprogram. So one of the messages in the book is about how we, for example, point our feet towards wherever we want to go. So if we're talking to someone and our feet are pointed away, that's a sign of not wanting to connect with that person for some reason. So
Hmm.
a lot of this is just a practice with paying attention to our body's physical cues and learning to feel into our body's emotions.
Hmm.
And this is a practice because so many people are so cut off, they don't even honestly know what they feel. They're so used to basing off someone else. So the other thing that's very helpful for this is meditation and just sort of reacquainting yourself with your own body and your sense of self and what you're feeling in the moment. And then usually you'll get a sense. And if you don't, then just sitting with it, sort of breathing, just allowing whatever you feel to come forward, and just not to feel like you have to hurry with it.
Hmm. It's really interesting when you talk about your body because so much of the time, like I'll get from me, my no response comes in my belly and it feels like a bellyache.
Yes.
And so I need to be careful to ask myself not right after I've eaten food,
Right.
right? Because if I'm having a bellyache after I've eaten, it might be because of what I just ate, or that I ate too fast, or that I didn't get enough water or too much. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, right? But it's that exact same feeling. So I've got to wait for a couple of hours after I've eaten before I really ask. So if I'm at dinner having a conversation, I need to make a decision, and I'm getting that bellyache, I'll just say, I will get back to you because I know whatever I'm feeling right now is not true. I'm digesting food, right? So that access point really isn't available to me. It's altered in that moment, right? So there's that, and then I'm getting an idea that is worth listening to. Literally, I will feel like a tingling, like there's stars, like I'm an angel, like there's stars above, right on the top of my hair, you know. And if I'm too tired, it will put me to sleep because it's also
Yeah.
the way that I relax. Right. So just knowing how your body operates and Laura, I've been doing this intuitively. I didn't even realize I was doing it until you just said that. That I know because I'm paying attention what my body does and that my messages come in as similar sensations and that there are certain times where I'm able to decipher those messages better. Right? And it gives me access to much more information if I'm aware of that.
Absolutely. So that's why I said it's really like an art of learning your body and your responses and figuring out how to deduce for yourself. And sometimes it's an immediate yes or no. Like we've all
Mhm.
had that where it's like hard
Absolutely.
no, like hard pass.
Yeah.
And then other times we have to kind of sit with something, and that's okay. For me, one of the great ways that I get insight and clarity is when I'm driving. Not in
Mhm.
like, LA traffic or something, but when I'm driving and I can just kind of zen out, still be safe and everything, but you don't need your full focus,
Mhm.
to drive on a pretty straightforward road. Like you still have some mental capacity to focus on other things. So for me, that's one of the ways that when I'm like trying to process something, I'll go and I'll drive, or sometimes in the bath. For me, water is very
For
helpful.
me, it's the shower. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So just learning those things. So if you're like, I'm not sure, then doing one of those things that helps you kind of get into your core intuitive energy and then
Mhm.
honor that and then trust yourself too. Because a lot of the challenge with honoring your intuition is lack of self trust
Mhm.
and questioning, am I going to make the mistake and that lack of trusting of ourselves will get us to we can end up being kind of spinning because we're always afraid to make the wrong choice. And
Mhm.
also, I feel that as we get better at manifesting, like the whole world is magic. So it's not about like a right choice versus a wrong choice. It's about what do we want to experience and also knowing there's so many ways we can call in the kinds of experiences that we want to experience.
Right. And in many cases, not 100%, but in many cases, there's no real wrong choice. It's not like any
Exactly.
choice that you make is going to make you die, in most cases, right? Or get sick or whatever. So, really, the world is a much safer place than we give it credit for. And as we're making those decisions, also have the intention that I am safe, I am held, everything is going to work out for me. Right? Those sorts of like setting out that intention as you're making a decision frees you then to tune more into what's right and what's wrong for you rather than making decisions based on fear or perceptions that are not actually true. Right?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about how sometimes our body's messages can be a bit confusing. So, specifically as it relates to stress or anxiety and excitement. So, let's say you're stepping into something that's new for you. Public speaking, for example, can
Mm-hmm.
draw a lot of fear for people. And I learned this, and it was really resonant that the body's response to excitement and sort of stress or anxiety is actually the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, what if you're about to step on a stage and you're suddenly like, oh my God, I feel so much anxiety? But what if it's actually just excitement? So much of this is, within the safety realm, like, it's probably going to be pretty safe for you on a physical level to step onto that stage, but
Mm-hmm.
it's more about your intellectual or emotional fears in that moment. So I'm safe. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Instead of
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm stressed about this. Oh my gosh, this is like, so exciting. This like feeling in my tummy and my palms. This is excitement. I'm really excited about this. And
Mm-hmm.
we can start to reprogram the story we're telling ourselves about what's going on in that moment.
Yeah. It is also really interesting to understand that everybody else out there is having the similar feelings. I have a big speaking engagement coming up, and I have to confess, I'm really scared. And I have been a good speaker in the past, but I was an internationally known dancer too. And every single time I would go on stage, I'd be in the back, ready to go on stage. I would forget my performance. I would forget the choreography. I was completely overwhelmed with butterflies in my stomach, and the music would start and my body would start to move. And I hear this over and over and over again that professional speakers will still get butterflies in their stomach and stuff like that. So it's also kind of getting to know, like we've been talking about, getting to know your body, that's not a stop, don't do that response.
Right, exactly.
That's something really big and exciting is about to happen, even though it's scary for you. And it's okay that it's scary for you. You're going to be safe in this situation, right? So a lot of this really is also just getting to know really who you are and honoring that, not allowing other people to dictate how you should be feeling or tell you what you will be feeling, and then you beat yourself up because you're not doing that, right? Tell you how to tap into your intuition when in fact that doesn't work for you. Like learning who you are and what makes you tick and how you operate, all of those things are going to help you to tap into what's best for you, what your intuitive senses are trying to say to you.
Yeah, and there's little sort of tricks or shortcuts we can sometimes learn that helps us. Like one of the ones that helped me when I was especially in the beginning of putting myself out there in this new way. So again, master's in poli sci, government and politics, working in psychic spiritual realm. Like, can we talk about that was like getting a sex change or something? Like it was like completely like so different with how I was orienting with the world as well as my sort of self-identity. It felt like such a massive shift. And I definitely experienced a lot of, I would say, persecution fears. Are people going to attack me and tell me I'm crazy or just like think I'm a horrible, stupid person, whatever. Like there was a lot of like mental garbage I had to work through. And one of the things I learned actually out of psychic training that was very helpful for me in those moments was the phrase, when you get nervous, focus on service. So,
Mm.
redirecting the focus from my ego, fear, whatever is going on in that moment to like, what am I trying to do here? What am I trying to accomplish? Oh, and one of my big drivers in talking about all this stuff is helping others heal because I went through a big spiritual and physical healing journey and I saw the tools that helped me and I wanted others not to struggle as I had struggled as much, right?
Mhm.
So that was a really strong drive for me and my whole path was like I want to help. I don't want people to be in struggle. So when I focus on that and the information I'm trying to share instead of like all the mental stuff, that really helped me to be able to move through and not get stuck in this sort of mental panic that can really, end up in a freeze state.
Mhm. Absolutely. I love that. Focus on service. When you get nervous, focus on
It's
service.
so easy to remember, right? So it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. I actually had a girlfriend. I was meeting, I was going to another something in LA to talk about my screenplay, and I was so scared because, I'm a Northern California girl. I'm pretty simple. I don't get the business. I don't know anything, right? I just have this message that's really important to me. And I feel like if we do it in a movie, it's going to impact more of the world, right? Like my book could only do so much. My voice can only do so much, but a movie could make a huge impact. So the message is so important that I want to do this and I know nothing. And I remember I was going to be walking into this room and I was with another girlfriend. It was actually the LA Magazine photo shoot for the magazine, the article and everything that we did that you and I just went to the event for. And I knew I was going to be meeting all these really important women at this photo shoot and the photographer and the owner of the magazine and so many important people. And a girlfriend of mine said, Monica, carry around a little bliss ball and share it with people.
Oh, I love that.
And because she kind of got that bliss is my thing. So now, even I don't know if you noticed this, the way that I was leading, even the other day when we were at this event, is there's this sort of heart forward feeling like I'm literally imagining I'm carrying a ball right in front of my heart and I'm walking up to people to try to share my little ball of bliss. But it's, these sorts of like, and of course that too is if when you're nervous, be of service, right? I'm wanting to share the joy. I'm wanting to model that joy, right? And each of us can do that, right?
Absolutely. And the more we just redirect, so much of this is literally just redirecting the focus. Like,
Hmm.
where do I want my focus to be? Do I want it to be on like, panic? No, I want it to be on
Yeah.
bliss and sharing bliss and me and bliss. And the good thing is I think the more we do that, the easier it gets to do that. Right. So
Hmm.
my early childhood history is with a lot of physical trauma, abuse. Like, I mean, that was where I was coming from was there was a lot of like fear and anxiety because of my circumstances. And so I did have to do a lot of reprogramming, but I would say that now, like that's more my de facto is that
Mhm.
blissful, joyful state. And we can get to where, yes, we're humans. It's not like we're always going to be in this sort of high
No
elation
way.
feeling, right?
Right.
But what we can do is where our standard sort of baseline is way higher. And then I feel like we can just kind of keep elevating that. And then what you talked about in your intro, which is even when things happen that could feel really challenging, we don't have to dip so low in those moments. It's natural
Mm.
to feel emotions. We're human, of course, but also, we don't have to get stuck in the troughs, right?
That's right. We don't have to
And
live there. Yep.
right, right. And
Yeah.
knowing that and that we have the tools to get ourselves, back up so we don't have to be stuck in that energy is like it's a game changer. It's life changing.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I know that you are almost out of time. And so, is there anything that you wanted to share with the ladies before we sign off? I've loved this conversation so far.
Oh, me too. I feel like there's so many wonderful gems. I would just say I'm such a believer in manifesting and setting intentions and whatever feels fun and exciting and like oh gosh, I would like to experience that in my life. Set that intention, put it out there to the universe, and then pay attention to the messages that come forward for you, the invitations, the signs. I believe our intuition is like our inner compass to help us receive and experience joy and the magic of life. And in order to fully receive what we want, we need to sort of set that navigation system, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people I think make the mistake of they're like, well, whatever's for the highest good. And like that's a great statement, but at the same time, there's so much out there. There's literally so many things that could happen. So getting clarity and setting intention like, oh, I would love to have a screenplay produced. I would love to go to Bali. I would love, whatever those things are. I want to dance with John Travolta. I want to or connect with so and so and put it out there and then just, pay attention to your intuition as things start to shift because our angels and spirit guides are listening to us. And then as we set these intentions or have these goals or sort of even like whimsical ideas of something that would be fun, different channels sort of open up for us to help those things come into reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I totally agree with you on that for sure. This has been so lovely. It's always so wonderful to connect with you, Laura. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You are so welcome. And there's one other thing that's coming in to say, and this is about your circle and making sure that you're connecting with those who have the same intentions and love and support you. If you're around a lot of naysayers or negative Nellies or, people that rain on the parade all the time, that's going to be harder for you to keep your, sort of energy up. So I think we're in process of that. When I look at my circle, when I was first learning about all of this, and I was in definitely a desire to help to the point where I was even unconsciously in a martyr pattern, right?
Hmm.
Even with energy. So just paying attention to do the people in your life, do they lift you up? Do they support you? Do they believe in you? Like these kinds of things are also really helpful to help you manifest those dreams into reality.
Absolutely. They talk about how you become the top 5 people that you hang out with, the people that you spend the most time with. And it's not just a trite little saying. It's
It
true.
isn't. Mm-hmm.
We become who we hang out with because we take on each other's energies and beliefs. No matter how strong you feel you are in your beliefs, you are going to take on some of this other stuff from the people you hang out with by osmosis. And it's just easier to stay uplifted if those people that you hang out with are also uplifting. It doesn't mean that every conversation is happy.
No.
It doesn't mean that we don't have bad days. It doesn't mean that we don't dump on each other or vent. But it does mean that most of the time, we are uplifting to one another. When someone is having a really amazing experience, the other people are happy for you, right? They want that experience for you, right? So it's like that. It's not that you have to be like happy, happy, joy, joy all the time, right? That's not real. That's not how life works. but you want to be around people that are going to uplift you in a way, even in those really down times.
And be
But
happy for your success too.
that's
That's
right.
key. That's right. Because there's some people that can be your friend when you're having a hard time, but don't really know how to be your friend when you're in success. And I remember that moment where I divorced my ex-husband. I had health issues. I was like in a really low point in that time. And there were people that were there for me then, but then when I kind of got out of it, they didn't know how to interface with me
Mm-hmm.
when I was good. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a really kind of strange realization. So what we want is the people that can be there and support us and understand, but also support our wins.
And celebrate with us and play with us and bring us, share joy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yay! Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. And Monica, thank you so much for modeling this, because we all need to see this and reminders of this. And I just want everyone to know you can be successful, you can have joy, you can have passion, you can have all the things. You do not have to choose. And I think you embody that very well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I believe the same about you, which is why I want to share so much of what I'm experiencing in life with you. So thank you for that.
Oh, it's really my pleasure.
Yeah. And ladies, always remember, you can choose bliss. Bliss is your birthright. Choose to live your bliss every single day. I'll see you soon. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to find out more about how to become a blissful millionaire, go to blissfulinvestor.com. See you next time.